Once upon a time, about 15 years ago, I worked at Levi's Shore Pump in Richmond, Virginia. I was a part-time, I think seasonal employee that was maybe going to transition to full-time. There was a store manager. His name was Andrew something, white guy, a couple years older than me, but he didn't go to college and he had worked his way up in retail, so he was a store manager. So I started, I don't know, maybe, when school starts, August, September, and during the winter break, I went home for the holidays. I told my manager that. And I was always the best at my job. I'm not even trying to be funny, but I was really always the best at my job, sales, cashier, everything. And this was when you had to do many steps to swipe your credit card. And essentially, I was the one that never made mistakes on the cashier. All my credit card transactions went through without no problem. I got all the verifications correctly. Maybe it was checking the ID. I don't remember what the process was, but apparently I was the one that didn't mess up. Alongside having the best customer service, etc. Alongside, mind you, this is a college town, so everyone that works there is, 18 to 22. Alongside actually showing up for my shifts, even if I was late, calling in late. So the guy kind of respected me in that sense. So with that being said, when winter break came, he's like, hey, I know you're going to Maryland, 2 hours drive away from Richmond, Virginia. Are you interested in coming back with some shifts to work during the holiday? I said, yeah, that's no problem. And mind you, respectfully, I don't technically need the job. This was luxury income for me. I stayed on a dorm, right? And so I stayed on a dorm and I had food through the university plan, part of the whole tuition thing. And then when I went home, right? So I didn't need the job, right? And then also too, I was always flipping kicks on eBay. So I would sell stuff on eBay. I would flip things at thrift stores. I did what I did back in the day. You know what I'm saying? You know what it is. If you were in the sneaker life or the thrift store life or the eBay life, or anything, if you were flipping stuff, you were flipping stuff, right? So I didn't need the job. It was a nice paycheck of something fun to do. The culture of Levi's, you got a free pair of jeans. I got this denim sack that I probably still have that's really beat up. I mean, it was a cool gig. I remember it was my first pair of 501s. Because prior to that, I only wore 517s, which was the tapered leg. And I think I had one pair of 511s, which was the skinny leg. But I never had 501s because I feel like they were too bulky for my frame at the time. I'm 180, 6'2" at the time. So I felt like 501s didn't really fit my aesthetic with the sneakers I wore and the Vans and everything like that. So I got my first pair of 501s that were really cool. Anyways, so I'm yeah, I had my Honda Accord. Like I said, no car note. My parents actually got me that car and so I was good. I just needed the job for the heck of it. I just wanted the job for the heck of it. So I was yeah, I'll come back. So I drive back to Richmond. Mind you, this is the day after Christmas or something like that, right? 2-hour drive after the holidays, leaving my family celebrations. And I go over there maybe the night before. I sleep there. I wake up. It's 9:35 a.m. My shift starts at 10 a.m. It's a 20-minute drive from downtown Richmond to Shore Pump. My phone rings. It's Andrew calling me. He's like, hey, sorry, my regional manager's been bugging me for hours. I'm going to have to cancel your shift. Bruh. I said, Andrew, we had a whole conversation about this. I was driving from Maryland to get up here. What's going on? Let's figure something out. The guy pretty much spazzes on me. He said, hey, man, look, it's not my call. I didn't mean to do it. If this isn't working out for you, you can quit. I said, all right, cool. And that was that. I went back to Maryland. I went about my day. Like I said, I lived on campus. I had the food planned with my tuition plan. I was already flipping kicks. So, for me to drive 2 hours during the holiday in the cold of winter to come, help you out or whatever the case may be to make what was minimum wage at the time? $12 an hour, whatever the case may be, it was just ridiculous. Once again, I didn't mind doing it because, everyone there was friends. It was fun or whatever. And the thing about it is I didn't even yell at him. I was like, hey, man, we talked about this. What's going on? Let's try to figure something out. Am I going to work tomorrow? He's like, nah, I got to cut the whole hours for the week. And then I'm like, dang, man, this kind of sucks. And the guy spazzed on me. And he's like, if it's working out for you, man, then you can quit. And I was like, okay. So long story short, like I said, I still had friends there, so I would still pull up there, whatever. He didn't like that. And as time would go on, we were all in the fashion scene in Richmond. and there was this thing called Warren Well, which was about like vintage and denim and everything like that. And I used to see him there. All right, cool. He was still salty, but we had a lot of mutual friends, and he finally got over it. Bet. Fast forward another 34 years, he opens up a boutique. So mind you, I graduated college now. He opens up like a vintage store or whatever. I didn't even know it was his. I was just walking in Carytown at the time, and I walk in. I was like, "Oh shit, what's going on?" He's like, "Yeah, this is my store." You know, we hit it off. Everyone forgets about the past. We're talking, shooting shit. You know, we're hanging out for hours at this shop. Of course, I buy stuff. You know, I buy a bunch of clothes, like almost on a bi-monthly basis. I was going in there, hanging out with him, buying stuff. One of my friends had a leather business. I said, "Yeah, let's set up a meeting. I'm pretty sure that'll be cool." The meeting never went through, but it was just one of those things that the vibe was right. I would go in there and I would buy stuff. It was a cool time. I applied for a job. I applied for a job at Aldo Shoes in Stony Point, which is another mall in Richmond, right? Long story short, you know, I'm vibing out with the manager that's hired me at the time. She's pregnant, about to go on leave. I was interviewing for the store manager position, and we were talking about retail and, you know, people we know. Once again, Richmond's a kind of small towny vibe, and Andrew's name comes up. I'm like, yeah, I used to work at, this was stupid of me, I used to work at Levi's, da-da-da-da-da. And she's like, oh, okay, great. So peep game. So she calls Andrew. Mind you, I've went to the man's store, we've hung out the whole 9 yards, and she calls Andrew, be like, oh yeah, Johnny, you know, says he knows you, he used to work at Levi's, da, da, da. He tells her, oh yeah, don't hire him, he's just the kid that's gonna walk out on the job. So peep game, the assistant manager overheard this conversation that the store manager, I'm gonna say her name was Molly, I don't remember her name, let's call her Susan. She overheard the conversation that Susan is having with Andrew, right? So long story short, Susan goes on maternity leave, hires someone else. I remember getting a call from Susan saying that, hey, we decided to move forward. I was perplexed because the vibe was right. I had just graduated college, so I was finally ready to, you know, take on a full store manager role because I had the time for it. And I didn't go through, so I was perplexed. So Susan goes on maternity leave. She hires Megan, right? 2 months later, or maybe 6 weeks later, Megan, this new store manager, is going through her resumes and she sees my name. She's like, whoa. So she calls me. She's like, hey, you want to get hired? I'm like, yeah. So I get hired at Aldo anyway. Obviously not a store manager, but an associate role because I didn't have a job. So I took the job. The other girl that was there before, the assistant manager, she overheard the conversation. So she tells me, oh yeah, Susan was going to hire you for the store manager, but she called one of your references and he said you're pretty much a kid that walked out on the job a couple years ago at Levi's. Where am I going with all of this? So many examples. The first thing is, listen, don't mess with chosen people because you're not going to get away with it. Karma's going to come get your ass. Because that's a crazy story. This is a true story, folks. Number two, as I've said before in my other videos, don't underestimate jealousy, betrayal, and negativity from people. I mean, I had known this man for 4 or 5 years now. We saw each other at all these fashion shows, all this fashion stuff, all these pop-ups. You know, I had let it go. I went to a store. I was shopping with him on a quarterly basis, hanging out with this guy. We're talking about doing projects together. And when he got the opportunity to get his look back, mind you, he's getting his look back from him. This guy yelled at me, telling me if I don't like it, I should quit. And I said, okay. He's getting his look back because I actually took him up on his offer. What? So you had to get your look back because you tried to bully me, and because I didn't fall for your bullying, you're upset. And 5 years later, 4 or 5 years later, you tried to sabotage an opportunity of mine that inevitably failed. So there's actually 3 lessons now. Don't underestimate the betrayal people. You just get a martial art together when you see that look in their face, right? Because I saw the look in their face from 5 years ago that he was pissed, and once he got the opportunity, he expressed it. Number 2, if you want to mess with chosen people, you're going to lose. Number 3, stop thinking people can stop you from being you. Yeah, I didn't get the the opportunity in that particular role, but everything literally still worked out. Because at the end of the day, I was trying to do other stuff anyway, so me getting the associate role kind of worked to my benefit for me to explore other opportunities I wanted to explore. Did it annoy me? Was I pissed? Did it affect me a little bit financially for a couple of months? 100%. I'm not going to sit here and be fake. However, when I look back at it, it's it's really a remarkable situation that out of everyone that was at work that day, the same assistant manager was at work. She was happened to be nearby hearing the phone call that was on speaker. She picked up the names, and then the new store manager got hired. Out of all the applicants, she called me, and I pretty much get hired like this. And then I found out about that situation. So it's like, yeah, this is a lesson in betrayal, a lesson in faith and acknowledging, knowing that nothing can stop you unless you decide it is, and a lesson in following your instincts and eradicating weird stuff out of your life totally and completely. Like Robert Greene says, crush your enemy totally and completely the first time. And you may not have to crush anyone, but once you see that vibe, just take them out of your life altogether, because if you don't, any amber, any smothering whiff of situation that they get to do dumb shit, best believe they will. Peace.